itself. So whereas I don't want someone just buying it and leaving it there and not doing anything with it, I would suggest that if any kind of, what should I say, requirements that we're going to ask the bidders to do, that there would be giving a time frame under which whatever their plans that they might have, so we could look at them, but tell us how long it's going to take. Thank you.
Andy, can that be included in the request for proposal?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, I think it is something we can include. I think right now what we're looking for is whether or not council wants to declare it surplus or not, and we can bring the details with the proposal at a later meeting.
Okay. Tom, you had a question.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Your Worship. Andy, with regards to the title on the property, I understand this is currently in 2 names. I would recommend that staff go ahead and get our lawyer to register this in our name only. And the second thing I would recommend before we list it for sale is that we put an access off of the Long Lake Road to the property, and also close up and stop that entrance that goes over onto the school parking lot, so that you're looking at the property as it is when we prepare to sell it. That's it. That's all I had to say, Andy. I think that we should get it in our name anyway, one name.
Yes.
Makes
Okay.
things simple.
Cindy?
There are community mailboxes there through Canada Post. So if you stop up, you're blocking off people's access to their mail. If you block off that driveway, just so you know.
Is it that driveway, Tom, or is it driveway at the back?
Well, the driveway that I'm talking about is the one that was on the view that comes out onto the school parking lot.
Yeah. So
I don't really think we should allow that. I think that should be stopped up and closed. Now, I don't know where Cindy's talking about the mailbox, because I don't know if they're on.
Tucked right in.
They're
right inside the gates.
Yeah, right along the fence line. So if you block that off, people can't get their mail.
Well, why don't they move the mailboxes out on Long Lake Road?
You can't have them out on the main road unless you want somebody to get hit.
Well, it's certainly something staff will have to take a look at. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's what said staff can take a look at that.
Okay. Bill, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I do support us moving ahead and selling this piece of property, because when you look at the budget every year, we're spending money in a piece of property that's continuing to deteriorate. So I fully support whatever actions required to sell this property.
Okay. Okay. No other. Go ahead, Andy.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I would just like to add that the longer we hold on to the property, the worse condition it's going to be in, and the value is going to decrease. The roof has a few leaks that are showing, and it doesn't take long for the condition to deteriorate pretty quick with the roof leaking the way it is. And to answer to Tom, I think to sell it, the new purchaser, we wouldn't want them going through the school parking lot to access the front door of that building. So we would have to, I think it would be a good idea to create a new entrance there.
Definitely you'd want an entrance on that property instead of going over other property. Okay. All right. So you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried. So staff will come back with the report as we get further along.
Right.
Okay. Now I have a motion moved by Brent and seconded by Nikki. Whereas the township purchased the Hinchinbrook Public School in 2015 and the building is not being used, and whereas the Frontenac municipalities will be adopting a community safety and well-being plan prior to July 2021, said plan will be identifying affordable housing as a gap and community risk. And whereas if communal servicing is approved, it could open with the potential for a variety of housing needs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council defer its decision to declare this property surplus to the municipality's needs and request staff to bring back a recommendation in the fall of 2021, pending the decision for communal servicing and adoption of the community safety and well-being plan. Discussion. Who wants to start? Okay.
Madam
Nikki?
Mayor, I took the opportunity of going there on Sunday to look at that building, and I never seen so many F words in my life. And the electrical box is yanked off of the wall, and I'm just wondering if we won't have more problems there. The longer we keep this, the more we're inviting ourselves for trouble.
Okay. Nikki, you had your hand up.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. I just in regards to the affordable housing, I don't think that that site will ever be a chosen site, because one of the first things they look at is amenities around the area. There's no grocery store, there's a corner store. There's, as we know, transportation is a huge hindrance in our area, and there's no public transit or anything around it. There's no restaurants per se. So to hold off selling it or declaring it surplus till later in the year, I don't think is going to help us. It's going to hinder us. Right now, there's the market to sell is quite brisk. And if you wait longer, it could bottom out and we don't receive any type of profit.
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't agree with selling it. I fully support deferring it to fall. Let staff look at it. I think this is a very valuable asset to our community. And I think there's a lot of potential down the road, whether it's housing or some other purpose. I think this 5 point whatever acres is a very valuable asset. And if we sell it, we can never get it back. So I think that I leave it up to staff to research it a bit. I think housing is a good possibility, but there may be other opportunities. And I'll just wait for the report, but I would not support selling it at this time.
Okay, Brent?
I'm
Go
sort
ahead,
of in
Brent.
the position, Madam Mayor, I'm in the position where I'm sort of halfway between Nikki's position and Tom's. I guess my view is it's sitting there, and I would like to think and hope we have a legitimate chance at some valuable use in a very short time. I don't know if that's possible, because certainly we've had this property for a while and we've had expectations of various uses, and for one reason or another, they've not panned out. And in the meantime, the building is sitting there. I don't know what the odds are that it would be seen as a priority property for a development. And again, Nikki's raised a few points to that. And I'm also sympathetic to Tom's point that once it's gone, it's gone. But it is essentially sitting there as an unused asset and, for all intents and purposes, a liability. So if we are going to wait until the fall, I would at least hope that while we're waiting for a determination, we also have a plan B. So, and I really do think that staff ought to work on a plan B where if the Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee does its review and they determine that there is no suitable use for the property, I think we need to hit the ground running and be ready to sell.
I think just to clarify, and Cindy, maybe you could help me out here, the Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee won't be reviewing that site specifically, but I think what this motion is talking about is that one of the gaps that is being recognized is that there is a lack of housing for low-income single people, not necessarily seniors. And I think, Nikki, when you were talking about stores and transportation, when you're talking about a senior population of housing, that's exactly what you're looking for. But if you're looking for low-income housing, won't necessarily be people over 60 or 65, could be the 35-year-olds that can't afford to rent a place on their own if they're on disability or social assistance. So there are dollars right now for social housing that's coming into the city of Kingston, which is also within the county. But again, we're not ready to actually put any plans like that together until we get communal services options sorted out.
Madam Mayor, can I jump in there just for a minute?
Sure. Yeah.
I agree with that. And I will clarify with the community safety and well-being plan process, we're not looking at specific properties. What we're looking at is the risks to the communities. And the thought here is that this is a potential property that the township could put to, because we have to implement our safety and well-being plan. There'll be implementation teams that try to solve the problems that are identified. So I saw this property as a property that could be a potential solution to a risk that's identified in the plan, particularly if there's the opportunity for communal servicing. And I think being in municipal ownership, the potential is greater because we are in a position where we can help a developer leverage to make it financially viable to do something that's affordable, because the problem we have is most developers can't build something that's affordable because the rents have to cover the cost of construction. So we can be a little bit clever in developing, and I believe Andy had come up with some examples in other municipalities where the municipality has facilitated a development by assisting financially with the development of it. And since we own the land, we have certain things that we can do to help facilitate the financial component to it. So that was the reasoning. It's not necessarily that site would be flagged in the plan, but it could be a potential for us to suggest as an implementation solution for that problem.
Okay, Brent.
Okay, so further to that, if we're not presuming that this property is necessarily going to be part of a proposal, it could be, but we don't know that for certain. I guess my question would be, how long would it be before we knew? Because if we wait, and again, I still go back to a plan B, if we're waiting in the interim to determine whether or not that property could be part of a broader plan, that makes sense to me. But at some point in time, when it's clear that, in fact, it's not going to be part of a broader plan, it doesn't fit into the scheme, and it's just sitting there as it is, I would really strongly recommend that we have some sort of plan B where once it's been determined that that property, if it's not suitable or acceptable, when it's finally determined as such, that we could move forward into another phase and potentially divest it.
Bill, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did.
Bill and then Victor.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. In regard to the comments where social housing couldn't fit in there, I don't particularly agree with that, because we have social housing which has been established on a lot of the rural roads nowhere near a community of any kind. There's some of them located on Tryon Road. There's housing located up on the Burke Settlement Road, which is a long way from any store or post office or whatever. The people who live in those houses are usually self-sufficient in regard to transportation. And with the advent of the high-speed internet, I think people can be located anywhere and possibly live anywhere. And I just want to point out that down in North Augusta, for those of you who don't know where that is, that's just north of Maitland, north of 401. There was a school very similar to this Hinchinbrook school that was turned into a seniors apartment, and it's been very successful. I think there is an opportunity there to look at this. And what we're talking about here is probably 3 or 4 months at the most. And given the situation with COVID, I suspect that we're not going to be making much moves anywhere. So I can't see us hurting ourselves very much by postponing a decision about selling this property for a few months till staff come back with a report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Victor,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been mentioned a couple of times already, but I just want to emphasize there's going to be a report on communal servicing coming up shortly. And I believe that communal servicing is going to be a game changer. It's going to allow more dense development than what we've seen previously. And so even if this property doesn't become affordable housing or seniors housing, it could potentially be housing development, and the value of the property is going to increase if we can do communal servicing. So, you know, right now they would, I'm not sure what the lot size required inside a hamlet area is, but if it's something like an acre, we could only put in 5 units. Whereas if communal servicing goes in, it could be 40 units. And for a developer, how much more valuable will that land be? So if we're just waiting for a short while, and the value of the land could really increase.
And Madam Mayor, just to let council know, I sat in on a session with the city of Kingston in regards to grants and about affordable housing. So there is a need for housing. So, and there are grants out there and money through the city of Kingston. So and they were talking about a lot of different types of affordable housing. They were showing us ones that Kingston is doing now and refurbishing different older buildings. So there is a need. So I mean, there is some grant monies available for someone that wishes to, to actually build on it.
and I do want to mention that when we did the senior study, there were seniors who did not want to come to Charlotte Lake to live. They wanted to live in Parham. And again, if there's a reasonable market rent in an apartment in Parham, there are lots of folks that's the community they want to stay in. And there's nothing affordable to rent or available to rent right now. Bill, you had your hand up again?
Yes, I did. For those who are not aware of in regard to the restructuring order, the City of Kingston are the Consolidated Municipal Manager of Housing, and that includes the County of Frontenac. So when we're looking at the City of Kingston, for example, we're not trying to look at an entity that doesn't have any influence here. They actually are part and parcel to the housing decision-making for the County of Frontenac. So I just want to mention that, Madam Mayor. So.
Okay.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else want to weigh in before I call the vote? Okay, all right, you've heard the motion. All those in favor?
Do we have a recorded vote here?
We're already voting, Elwin.
Oh, I'm not voting.
All those in favor? Okay, those opposed? 2 opposed, the rest are in favor. Motion's carried. Okay. Next is Public Works. Andy, thank you very much. Is there
Thanks,
anything
everyone.
you need from us?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head, but
Okay,
thanks, everyone.
all right. Thank you. All right, Tyson is up, and I have a motion moved by Tom and seconded by Bill. The council received the Public Works Activity Report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated April 13th, 2021 for information. Any discussion on that motion? Questions, comments? Cindy?
On the grader schedule, there's no Kennebec, it's just all Olden. So it's just a little typo there.
Okay,
Through you.
there was,
No,
go ahead, Tyson.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there was a little communication error this month getting the grader schedule updated due to some staff being off. So it'll be updated next month for sure.
Tyson, don't get rid of Kennebec.
I think both councilors do know we've been doing quite a bit of grading in the Kennebec area. So thank you.
yeah, the grading schedule is actually listed under the Olden, which is the Olden garage. So there's a lot of roads in there that have been already done.
Yes,
That's
and you're correct, Councillor Dewey, because it's the same as within Hinchinbrook. Some of those roads are actually in Oso district.
That's right.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, too, Kathy, we need to rename that so it's makes a little more sense, and maybe call it North Area or North Area, South Area, or something like that.
Or even call it the Olden Garage area and the Hinterbrook Garage area, because that's in fact how it's divided up, isn't it, Tyson?
That's right.
Well, then you really
Okay.
confused me, Tyson. It'll be north of 7 or south of 7.
I did notice though that on the Hinterbrook spreadsheet, there was no grading on the one that I looked at.
And that, through you, Madam Mayor, that is due to the staff being off and the foreman not being able to supply that info in time for the meeting.
Okay, good. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right, next we have amnesty tickets. I have a motion moved by Cindy and seconded by Sherry, that the Waste and Recycling Committee conducted a meeting on April the 6th to discuss amnesty tickets. And whereas the Waste and Recycling Committee is seeking direction from council regarding the distribution of amnesty tickets for the year 2021. And whereas the committee has provided 2 options for council to review. Now therefore, that council direct the Waste and Recycling Committee based on option 1 or option 2. Which would you want to present? Option 1 or option 2? Tom, you're first.
Thank you, Your Worship. I fully support option 1. I think that our intent in the with the committee was that we would like to get everybody aware of get their tickets out to everybody this year. And because we're just a little bit late getting it out for the May weekend, I think that if anyone calls, we should mail those out to them, as we've mentioned in option 1, and also get them out in the tax bills so that they'll hit everybody for the next 2 weeks that we have the amnesty load. So I support option 1.
Okay. Does anyone else want to weigh in on a different option? Victor?
Thank you, Madam
Go ahead,
Mayor.
Victor.
So Tom and I are both on the Waste Committee, and we disagreed on this one in the meeting. I'm supporting option 2. I think it's a more cost-effective option. You can see it in the financial implications. Tom's point is that by mailing it all out, it will provide better service to the constituents, and I cannot disagree with that point. But on the other hand, we print, how many was it? 3,000, 5,000?
Closer to 6,000.
6,000 tickets, and only 300 are used. So for me, there's a waste of paper and the staff time for putting them into the tax envelopes. So I'm of the opinion that the service level is perhaps a little bit lower, but the cost efficiency makes up for that.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Tom?
Tyson here. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tyson.
Go ahead, Councillor Dewey.
No, Tyson, you go ahead. Then
You go ahead, Tyson.
Tom's made one point. Do you want you to respond?
Through you, Madam Mayor, option 2 is definitely the preferred option from staff. And also on top of that, I think similar to other efficiencies we found through COVID-19, I think this is more of the way of the future by doing it more electronically. And I think it could be argued that service levels would not be affected because some may find it even easier and I think what happened a lot last year when we did that as a trial, we sent them all out with the tax bills. I think a lot of people saw it as a flyer and threw it out, and then it also added a lot of staff confusion, people calling in saying I didn't get my amnesty ticket, and I think it's because it got thrown out because it was the same color as Day of the Pig and they thought it was advertisement. So definitely preferred option number 2 from staff.
Okay, now Tom.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think when I look at the cost involved in having staff looked after it, it's rather minimal in looking at the overall cost. I think we're in the people business. I think we owe our public a service, and I think we need to provide that service. Because we were remiss in not getting those things out in time for the first tax bill. I think we have to service those public. But anyway, in case this thing goes sideways, I would like a recorded vote.
Okay, Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I just have a couple of questions in regard to this program. And I'm on record as not necessarily agreeing with this program. I probably didn't need to repeat that. But through mailing out tickets to landowners, what is the possibility if you had multiple properties, do you in actual fact would get multiple opportunities to use the amnesty program? And this concerns me because one person gets to take in one load and somebody else is maybe taking in three. I'd like to get a clarification on that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, each property that gets a tax bill also receives an amnesty ticket. If you own 4 properties, Bill, you would get to take 4 amnesty tickets to the waste site, or amnesty loads to the waste site. We decided that just because you may own only one residence, you may want to clean up your property too, and that helps the community. Now, I do agree with your point, and I would like to remind everybody the reason we are delayed on getting the information out in the first tax bill is because of the Public Works Department bringing forward a report to try to cancel the amnesty program. And the formation of a committee has delayed us and missed the first round of tax bills. And that's why we had to think on the fly another way to get this info out to the public. So by putting the amnesty tickets back out with the next round of tax bills will also cause confusion for those who have already came in and picked up their amnesty ticket in the office.
Okay. Anyone else?
But I don't see this. If we record that properly with those that have phoned in and got their ticket, we pull them out of it. There's not going to be a lot. Even if there was 100, that would not be a lot to pull out of a bunch of tax bills. So I don't see that as being a big job.
How many would that have been, Tyson?
I think during
number?
through you, Madam Mayor, I believe at the time of our committee meeting last week, we were around 50. So I agree. And I would also like to add that I am working for the township and I'm happy to do either option. Just presenting the one that staff prefers and makes most sense to us, but I don't want you to get the wrong idea that I'm against Tom. This is a political decision.
And we'll make sure that these politicians make that decision. So we have 2 options on the motion, and we have 2 people with 2 separate opinions of which options they want to have. I guess the only way to do this, Madam Clerk, CAO, is to vote on option 1 and then vote on option 2. Is that break it down?
Correct. We can do that.
All right. So
just a point of order. Are there then
Sure.
going to be 2 separate resolutions, or when we are called on, do we say I vote for option 1 or I vote for option 2?
We can.
well, I think there's going to need to be 2 separate motions. If the first motion passes, there's no need for a second motion,
That's correct.
right?
Yes.
All right.
Can we
So
record the vote?
we can record both.
Yes.
I'll
you.
just split up this motion and we'll sort it out later.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so option 1. Oh, did somebody else have something to say?
No, I'm just wondering, I'd
No.
like to hear the motion, Madam Mayor, as to what we're actually voting on.
All right, we can do that. So what we're voting on is moved by Cindy and seconded by Sherry, that the Waste and Recycling Committee conducted a meeting on April 6th to discuss amnesty tickets, and whereas the Waste and Recycling Committee is seeking direction from council regarding the distribution of amnesty tickets for the year 2021. And whereas the committee has provided 2 options for council to review. Now therefore, be it resolved that council direct the Waste and Recycling Committee based on And you're going to be voting on option one.
First, correct.
Option one. We're going to start with Nikki Gowdy. Yes or no on option one, Nikki?
No, no, please.
Okay. Sherry? You're on mute.
No to option one.
Okay. Elwin Burke?
No,
Brent Cameron?
No.
Tom Dewey?
Yes.
Victor?
No.
Fran Smith? No. Cindy Kelsey?
No.
Bill McDonald?
No.
All right. So
I'm no on both.
it's defeated on option one. So the same motion, but with option two. So we're going to start again. Nikki?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Elwin?
yes,
Brent?
Yes.
Tom?
No.
Victor?
Yes.
I'll tell her.
Francis, yes. Cindy?
Yes.
And Bill?
Abstain. Yes.
Madam Mayor,
Abstention is a yes vote, yes.
Madam Mayor, we have to have a mover and a seconder for that second option.
Oh, sorry, yes. That is moved by Victor and seconded by Bill.
Perfect,
That
thank you.
option two, and that vote is 8 yeses and 1 no. Motion's carried. Option two it is. I don't know if we'll figure this out tomorrow, but I'm sure somebody will for the minutes.
Yes, we will.
Right, okay. So mover and seconder for number two.
Madam Mayor, I noticed Tyson has his hand raised. I'm not sure if he has something.
Yes. Just wanted to,
Go.
I just wanted to thank the Waste and Recycling Committee. I know we're not disagreeing on this one little decision, but I think it's really important that the public that are tuned in and the rest of the councilors know. I think even just us coming to this meeting with this shows that the Waste and Recycling Committee has been working really hard behind the scenes, and I thank everybody for that.
Excellent, okay. Now Andy has his hand up that I see. Andy, did you have something to say?
No,
Okay. Did you see that your hand is up?
no, I didn't.
All right, we're going to move on to still Public Works. I have a motion moved by Brent and seconded by Tom. Whereas council pursuant to resolution 93/2021 authorized the Public Works Manager to proceed with the tender for one tandem snowplow truck. And whereas said tender closed on February 26, 2021 with one bid submitted. And whereas the successful bidder and only bidder had indicated on his submission, the tandem snowplow truck will not be ready until 2022. And whereas the successful bidder has a similar tandem snowplow truck available for the amount of $283, $265 and 46 cents before HST. Now therefore it be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager to purchase the truck available in 2021 and purchase the tendered truck in 2022. Discussion, questions? Tom?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will support this, the recommendation of staff to purchase, to go ahead and purchase this truck as they've outlined in their report. But I will say at this point that I will not support any further purchase of capital equipment from Public Works until I get a detailed report outlining our purchase of capital equipment for the next 10 years, so that we know going forward what's coming up for replacement, so that we're not kind of hit all of a sudden with the purchase of a $300,000 truck. So I'd like to know, and I know we're working on it, but we keep talking about it every budget, but it's not happened yet. So I'm just saying this, going down the road, I will support this, but I would like to see a capital expenditure going forward for the next 10 years or longer if possible.
I think that's
So-
under the asset management plan, is it not, Tyson?
I know it is.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I totally agree with what Tom's saying. It's very simple, and I've mentioned it in council before. For when it comes to these trucks, we have to, since we've got trucks that are at least 13 and some of them 14 years old, and we're trying to get closer to about 10 years old. For the next 5 years, we need to buy one of these tandem trucks every year to get us back on track. But I totally agree with Tom, is that it's been a while, and the treasurer and I discussed it enough, and it's time to put out a report. So I can get behind that for sure.
Okay,
Also
excellent.
too, Madam Mayor, I think that, and maybe Tyson, you might have a copy of it, and we can certainly look at it and discuss it, is Mike Richardson had done sort of a 10-year plan, but I don't know if it was just capital or if it included all the equipment.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's very outdated, and it will have to be completely relooked at and linked with our citywide program asset manager.
But at least it's a place to start from anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, no. Okay.
Good. Okay. Okay, so if there's no other comments, how do you vote on the motion before us? All those in favor? Cindy? I think Cindy's frozen. Okay, motion's carried. All right, fire and emergency service. I have a motion moved by Bill and seconded by Nikki. Whereas council approved the request from the acting manager of emergency services fire chief to authorize the CAO clerk to enter into an agreement with the Ontario Fire Marshal for the fire safety grant transfer payment agreement in the amount of $5,600. I think there's something missing in this motion, but we approve entering into the agreement for the $5,600 grant.
That's
Discussion.
correct. That's correct. That's what it is, Madam Mayor.
Tom?
Thank you, Worship. When I read this thing, I hope Jamie read all the terms and conditions, because I'll tell you, they're rather lengthy. And I'm wondering if we'll be able to spend these dollars by August 1st of this year, because that's when they say they have to be spent. And further, we have to create a report back to the Ontario Fire Marshal's office by September the 1st. So I just hope that we're able to meet that deadline, Jamie.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Dewey. The terms and conditions are quite lengthy. If approved this evening, the purchase will be made tomorrow, and the report will be completed in time.
Okay. Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, to Jamie. I suspect, Jamie, that even though the terms and condition of the contract, I suspect that most of the information you're going to have to provide them, you already provided in the application itself. So I don't see you having any trouble making it. The point I guess I'd have to make is what we're spending it on are the commodities available, and can we get them in that time frame? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor McDonald. That is correct, Councillor McDonald. Most of the information that's required for the follow-up was included in the original submission. With the dollar allotment that we received, the $5,600, it will be going into just increase our ability for training materials to purchase this year that we had already planned on budgeting into this year. I just want to take a moment and thank our Fire Marshal John Pegg and his team at the OFM for all the hard work that they've done to get this fund available for the fire service, because it's not very often that we get the availability for grants at 100% through the fire service. So
Good. Excellent. the fire services could use some grants from the province,
Yes.
which would in turn help the municipality. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, motion's carried. Looks like we've lost Cindy, but maybe she's trying to get back in. Cindy Dickman, do you see Cindy
She did leave the
coming
meeting.
back?
Yeah, she had the meeting, she disappeared from the meeting and hasn't been able to rejoin as of yet.
She had frozen up there at one point. Okay, administration. I have a motion moved by Elwin and seconded by Victor. The council approve in principle the recommendation of the CAO clerk to close that part of the unopened road allowance between concession 4 and 5 Olden, adjacent to lot 9, as applied for by Nancy Thompson and Gregory Thompson, and that we proceed to a public meeting to close the said road allowance before passing the said bylaw. Any discussion? Bill?
Madam Mayor, just a point of order. Do we have information on the Fire and Emergency Services fireworks bylaw that was to be updated on Monday while Jamie's on the phone?
No,
It's
Madam
not
Mayor,
on our agenda.
no, I'll let Jamie answer. I'll let Jamie answer. Go ahead, Jamie. You're there still.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. We were trying to bring the fireworks bylaw back for this evening due to the COVID over the past 2 weeks that we've been dealing with within the office. We tried to get it all completed for this evening, but we've pulled it and we'll be bringing it to council at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion before us, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. Charlotte Lake Trails Unlimited. Moved by Bill and seconded by Sherry. Whereas the municipality has been asked to provide support for the development of hiking and snowshoeing trails on Crown land located southeast of Charlotte Lake. And whereas there remain unanswered questions regarding the proposal, including how access to the trails can be achieved, environmental impact associated with access and the trails themselves, and who will assume responsibility for ongoing maintenance, liability, and ownership of assets associated with the trails. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that council limit its support in principle with caveats that other matters must be satisfactorily resolved. And further, that council request recommendation from the District 3 Oso Recreation Committee following its next meeting, should it wish to consider this trail system within the scope of this committee of council. Discussion.
Madam Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
can I share my screen to put up the map? I didn't include the map in the agenda package due to accessibility reasons, but I just wanted to show everyone that the map of the proposed trails. For
Sure.
information. Thank you.
Go ahead, and Bill wants to speak to this. And Sherry and Tom. Okay. And
You-
Victor. All right, everybody. Well, let's put the map up and have a look, and then we'll put it back down, and you can ask your questions or make your comments after that. Okay, Cindy, so kind of walk us through this from where it starts and are you there, Cindy?
Madam Mayor, I am quite familiar with this area. I can probably explain most of where these trails are proposed.
Okay, somebody.
Yeah, the northern trail there you see is coming in the Fallbrook Road and goes onto the Gig Road. And then the where you see the P on the top where they suggested, that comes actually into the Meredith subdivision. And we own a little strip of land along there, the township all of this land is basically Crown land. And then the eastern portion of this area is bordered by the crossroads, which goes from the Armstrong Road across to Crow Lake. Then the the southern boundary of this piece of property is actually the Crow Lake Road. And this is actually a huge piece of Crown land, which has multiple users, namely, in my mind, in the way of hunting and some of the fishing to some of those small lakes in there. So this is a huge undertaking. And I'm concerned that once this is established, as in the past, there's no question that it will become an asset that is expected that the municipality will be participating in some way, shape, or form of the ongoing maintenance of it. But it's a huge undertaking. That's my only comment, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Sherry, I believe you were next.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to comment on behalf of the rec committee. I know this has been a great passion of Rudy Hollywood's and Brian Robertson and many volunteers, and that they have, you know, done a lot of hard work on the mapping and everything. But I think they would be totally understanding of the limitations that the municipality has in its ability to support. But I think they would be happy to have any support that the municipality could provide for them.
Okay. Tom, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have had discussions with Rudy and with Brian on this several years back, and I think Dave Willis was also involved because right now that trail system is currently being used, and I believe they're accessing it through the parking near Rudy Hollywood's property there. But anyway, the problem that I saw with this then, and I still see it today, is if the township gets involved with this as a trail system, then I really think we have to have the county AOTA approve this thing, because we're going to run into the same problems we had with the Kennebec Wilderness Trails. So I don't exactly know how we can deal with this. I mean, it's a valuable asset, but if we have to be in compliance with AOTA, I don't see it happening. Sorry, that's all I have to say on that.
Okay, I think Brett had his hand up and so did Victor. Okay, maybe we could take the screen sharing down now, Cindy. Okay.
No, I didn't
Brent, you
have
want
my
to go
hand up.
next?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
No,
Victor?
I didn't have my hand up, so it's all good.
Okay. Victor.
Yeah, okay, just a quick comment to Tom. I believe that if it is designated as a wilderness trail, then you do not have to comply with AOTA standards. And I believe that's very clear in the report. My question is actually about the wording of the resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council limit its support in principle with caveats that other matters must be satisfactorily resolved. That is really vague. I'm not quite sure what it means. And I think from my reading of the report and of the letter from Mr. Robertson, at this stage, all they're asking for is kind of like support, not monetarily, but moral support that they can take to MNRF to move it forward. So I think that's what they're after. I'm just unclear on this resolution. What does that mean? Does it mean that we are providing the moral support and we will look at other support later? Or what does it mean?
Cindy, do you want to answer that? I'm thinking the caveat there about the other matters are the ones that were in the paragraph before, and that is how to access the trail, environmental impact, so on, so on. Cindy, is that? Go ahead.
Yes, through you, I agree, Victor. The wording is a little bit vague there, and I apologize for that. I think basically that we just need to limit the approval in the sense that we understand that there's many questions that still need to be satisfactorily resolved before we would be 100% supportive, but we agree in principle to the idea, provided that the environmental issues can be met, that we're comfortable with whatever access is proposed, and that there is, and that we're content with whatever entity is developed or to manage the trails, or whether we're taking that on ourselves.
Okay, Tom, and then Bill. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
I
Victor
guess-
has a follow-up first.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
Victor.
Can we have
So I just want to see whether or not I've got the understanding of that. So essentially, this resolution is saying we support the idea, and the problems will be sorted out in the future.
That's the way I read it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Madam
Tom, and
That's
then
fine
Bill.
with me.
Yeah, your worship, I totally support, I totally support the idea in principle, but as I am thinking about this, I believe the first line of approval would have to be from the Ministry of Natural Resources to establish this trail system. The second approval, I think, would have to be to establish this as a wilderness trail on behalf of the municipality, which would, or I believe that would be the county, or would that be the ministry? I'm not sure, but we would have to have that designation under AOTA, I believe.
Well, I don't believe they want the municipality to take ownership of this. I think the Trails Unlimited is the organization that will be dealing with the trail. They just want our support in principle. And I did read someplace that the ministry had asked for a letter from the municipality of support. And they want the township, the Unlimited group, want the township to take a look at assisting with parking, was what I read.
Madam Mayor, that's the way that I understand it as well. I know Cindy's been working with Brian Robertson and everything on that. So I think that if we do it in in support, I think that's, yes, that's what the ministry is looking for, as a letter from the municipality that we support the idea of this. But Councillor Dury is also correct in the sense when we did the one for the Kennebec, we had to do a motion in regards to it being a wilderness trail.
Right.
Right. But we don't want to
it.
take ownership
No.
of Crown land and then have to have it all accessible, right?
That's correct, because it's not on our land. It is owned by it is on Crown land, so.
Yeah.
Right. Bill.
Yes, I was going to point out the differences between Kennebec and this is that we actually own the land up in Kennebec, whereas what we're talking about here is Crown land, and there's another party. There's also a third party of which this organizing group might actually score a huge amount of support, and that was if they included the Native community in this, because this land is included in the land settlement agreements with the province and the federal government, and they may have a considerable amount of funding support for whatever they want to do if they actually got the local band included in the decision making in regard to this. I could support this in principle, but what I'm nervous about is that down the road, if the present groups that are working on that, when they're gone off the scene, then what happens is to these trails, once they're established, does it fall back into municipal hands? I don't see it happening because it is Crown land, but there might be an expectation from the public that the municipality has some responsibility of maintaining these, even though they're not located on any township property. So those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. If there are no other comments, so what we're voting on is support in principle, knowing that there's lots of other matters that need to be addressed down the road. Okay. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Now, official plan. I have a motion moved by Brett and seconded by Tom that council receive the report, official plan requirement for an additional open house prepared by the Director of Planning and Economic Development, County of Frontenac, for information. And Joe Gallivan is with us tonight. Hello, Joseph. How are you?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to give you a bit of background on this. So at the last meeting, I recommended Council set a date for their public meeting. And it's the same process we followed in North Frontenac when we did their plan a couple of years ago. Unlike North Frontenac, who's held 2 open houses, you have held 4. So I believe that you were ready to go to a public meeting. Then staff, we started to look at the Planning Act regulations in detail from 2006. And we did that primarily to make sure that we gave notice to the agencies that are required to receive notice under the Planning Act. So, for example, your adjacent municipalities, the school boards, Ontario Hydro. And it was brought to my attention that the wording about what the open house, that there's a stipulation that there has to be an open house held that quote unquote reviews the current proposed plan. And when I reflected on that, that meant to me that it would be the plan from December of last year. So Kathy was away last week, and I was my position that we couldn't hold the public meeting without having another open house, which I do apologize to council for potentially not reading that section, which has been in place for 15 years. It may have changed, but I hadn't read it that way before, and it's certainly not what we did in North Frontenac. So out of abundance of caution, thought we would hold another open house. And if we do proceed with this open house, just like the other open houses you've held, this is not a meeting that council has to attend. It's a meeting directed by staff to just gather more information. So just like the other open houses you held, it's not a formal meeting which requires the majority of council in attendance or whatever. So if we do proceed, staff could run the meeting. And then if you set a date for the formal public meeting in early May, we could potentially just prepare a summary report and bring that to your attention about here's what happened at the open house as an FYI to prepare for the public meeting. So, but it was my error in potentially misreading this section of the Planning Act for many years. And so that was my advice, that we go to an open house. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay. Tom?
Thank you, Your Worship. Joe, the question I have, there's been a lot of public support here for having the Henderson, as I mentioned in the last meeting, added to this, our official plan. Now, and I know that that has not been done yet to my knowledge. Now, does that require council approval before, or how do we handle that? Because is that going to delay approval of the official plan? Like if we have the public meeting, how do we make sure Henderson gets at least council vote on the fact that Henderson should be added?
As a hamlet.
As a hamlet, yes, as a hamlet. Because I know that, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, through you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Dewey. So the process we would recommend is so I can advise council, even since the last council meeting, staff have received a lot of emails on Henderson. And if we proceed with the open house and we do a summary report, I will include that correspondence for you for your public meeting. My advice is not to change the plan until after you've held the formal public meeting. And then after that meeting, we will write one final report with any suggested changes. So if council wants Henderson included as a hamlet, it would be after the public meeting. You could direct staff to put it back in as a hamlet. We would put the final revisions to the plan, and then you're prepared to adopt it.
Thank you, Joe.
Joe, can we miss one step? And that is, I believe council's already talked about this. I think council has agreed that Henderson should go in as a hamlet and just put it in now prior to the open house. Like we all got those emails. We've all seen those Facebook comments about going to North Frontenac and whatever. If they want to be a hamlet, let them be a hamlet. And I don't think council has a problem with that. But they also need to understand the restrictions of a hamlet and what that can mean down the road. But I think let's put it in now.
Okay, then we can do that for you. We'll put it in. I'll have the map updated and the date changed on the map. And then maybe that will make it clear to the public that your direction will be, once you're ready to adopt the plan, that Henderson will be in, and that will be evident sooner than later.
Good.
we can do that, Mayor.
Okay,
Madam
good.
Mayor, Madam Mayor, just want to make sure so that I know in Joe's report, he said that we had 4 open houses. In actual fact, we've had 5 already. We had August 2017, July 2018. We had 3 in August of 2019 dealing with, one was on the 7th, one the 14th, and the 21st. So in actual fact, we've had 5. So this will be a 6th open house. And I know because the first 2 were general open houses, then the other 3 were all in regards to like the waterfront development, settlement areas, as well as the rural areas and agriculture, just so that we are correct in the fact that this is going to be actually the 6th one.
So come May, we are adopting this plan.
Right.
You need to set, Mayor, if you're going to, you will have to have a formal public meeting, and you can set that date tonight if you wish. It just has to be within 20 days notice for advertising. So again, just to step back, I assume that you could go to a public meeting, but the wording appears to be different than I had always read it. And out of abundance of caution, I'm recommending a 6th, thank you, Kathy, a 6th open house above and beyond that staff can run. And then the date of the public meeting, we'll have a summary report for council to review about what happened at that open house and some of the other additional email correspondence received. So you're right up to date when you start to talk to the public at the public meeting in May.
Okay, I'm suggesting May the 12th, which is a Wednesday, that it be a meeting just for the public meeting on the official plan.
How is
May
everybody else? How is all other council? Is the 12th good for them?
It's the
Keep in
day
mind
after
we
our
have-
regular council meeting.
We do have committee of adjustment the day after, so that'd be 3 meetings in a row.
Are we up for 3 in a row?
Because this public meeting shouldn't be as long if we're having the open house on the 28th.
Through you, Madam Mayor, what were we planning on the official plan for April 28th?
Actually,
That's now an open house.
So does that,
That's the one that Joe is talking about, is been advertised as an open house.
so that's
So we
not a
have
public
council on the
meeting?
11th, but we can't have a public meeting the same night as we have council. We could
I'm
go
okay
to the
with-
5th, which is the Wednesday before, but that's pretty close to the open house.
Madam Mayor,
I'd
for us
say-
to get notices out in time, we
Yeah.
would have to get those notices out today, which isn't possible.
no, because it has to
No.
be, you have to give 20 days notice. So, I mean, you're probably 12th probably of May would probably be the earliest.
What if we said Tuesday, the 18th?
I'm okay.
That's fine with me.
I'll go for
Tuesday, the
that.
18th?
Yep.
Okay,
Now, council, did you still want to have that public meeting at 6 p.m.?
yes.
On the 28th, you mean, Kathy?
No, on
No,
the
this is-
18th. This is just talking about the public meeting. Bill, the actual virtual open house is going to be on the 28th at 6 p.m. It's been advertised as a virtual open house for 6 p.m. Then we're going to go to the official plan public meeting to finalize on May the 18th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
Count.
Kathy, I wonder if we should think about too, we're proposing the May 20th meeting for the joint meeting, so.
Yes, the community and well-being that's on the agenda. I was going to talk, we're talking about that for it's going to be on May the 20th, and that's a joint council meeting.
No matter how we pick it, there's meetings in all those weeks. We have county council that week. What the heck?
Yeah, and
Just more meetings.
And maybe Joe can answer, because I don't expect that the public meeting should be, I mean, it's the formal public meeting, but I don't think it will be as long as if you've done everything for the open houses, you've got everything ready to go with the report. I wouldn't expect it would be like a 2-hour meeting, for instance.
Through you, Mayor, I agree with Kathy. I think, so just for council's information, anybody who put their emails in the previous open houses, we're writing to them to let them know about this upcoming open house. So they may come out for that one and provide all their comments, which we can then provide to you on the 18th. So I don't think it'll be 2 hours. I don't think it'll take that long on the 18th.
Okay,
What was the time on the 18th?
6
Okay.
PM.
6 o'clock.
That's supper hour.
Eat early. Okay, so enough discussion on that. All those in favor of the motion? You want me to read it again? No? Okay, carried. Great, thank you, Joe. We'll see you a couple of times in the next month and a half.
Thank you, Council.
Okay. All right, now we have a motion moved by Cindy and seconded by Elwin. The council received for information the highlights from the March 17th, 2021 meeting and the minutes from February 17th, 2021 meeting for information. It's the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority minutes. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Tom and seconded by Victor, that council received for information the media release from EOTA dated April the 8th, 2021. And this is what Tom was talking about at the beginning of the meeting, where there's $3 million coming into EOTA from the province and the feds. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Now we have a delegation from Greg Rogers. Is Greg with us, Cindy?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm just putting him into a panelist mode here, so he should be joining us shortly. Okay.
Okay.
Now, Greg, your video and audio are currently off. If you can enable those, then we can. There we go.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hello, Greg.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to make it very clear from the beginning of what I'm about to share that I'm here in the capacity as a board member of the Charlotte Lake Business Group, and I'm making that distinction for a very intentional reason, which I'll explain in a few moments. I'm addressing the matter of the tourism booth that is currently located on the property at the corner, the southeast corner of Highway 38 and 7 in the little strip mall area. That tourism booth has become a project of the Charlotte Lake Business Group, and in 2019 we spearheaded a project to have it moved from where it had been sitting dormant for a number of years on the property of the Petrocan station. And the reason that we took on that project of having the booth moved and revitalized is because at that time, some of you may be aware, there was a gift shop in the little plaza there. And the owner of the gift shop approached us feeling it would be a good idea to have this tourism information booth on that property. The property owner agreed to that because of the gift shop, and his understanding was that he was agreeing to it for as long as the gift shop remained open in the plaza. For a number of reasons, the owner of the gift shop had to shut down her business and really was not able to move the tourism booth because it really wasn't hers to move. The Charlotte Lake Business Group really has assumed the operation of the booth itself. We struck an arrangement with the property owner to keep it there temporarily until we could work out another plan. Over the past several months, I have been working on a proposal, a funding proposal to the Ontario Highlands Tourism Organization on behalf of my own business. And the funding proposal includes a request for the amount of funds that it would be needed to move the tourism booth to a more ideal location. A month ago, I submitted a working proposal to township staff around an idea that I had that was going to be part of this funding proposal. I was ready to submit that, and then I realized that it still needed work. And so I wasn't ready to present that proposal today. However, in speaking with the chair of the Charlotte Lake Business Group, Allison Robinson, even though she understood my reasons for wanting to delay this proposal, she said, we really have to get this off the property soon. So she asked me if I would come today in the role of a board member of the Charlotte Lake Business Group, not in the role of a business owner, to inquire about having the tourism booth moved to the beach park. That was going to be my original proposal to the township, and I, as part of the funding proposal, I was going to work out all the issues that would satisfy the township to have it there, including my business covering liability. We were looking at some really creative ideas for developing some ideas related to capturing our visitors to the area who pass there. It's really the best traffic spot as far as drawing attention to the tourism information that's being offered by the booth. So in a nutshell, we've found ourselves between a rock and a hard place. Our hope has been all along to present a proposal to the township with regard to having the booth relocated to the beach park. But the property owner really wants it off the property sooner than later. So rather than proceed with my original plan proposal, the Charlotte Lake Business Group would just like to make the request to be able to have the booth relocated at the business group's expense to the beach park area. The reason being that that's really the life of our community in the tourism season, in the high part of the tourism season. It's where it catches the traffic. The location that we had it out on 38 just was not the best location for its purposes. We believe that it would invite more participation on the part of our operators to have it in that location. And so that's what we would like to propose today. Or make the request to have the booth relocated to the park.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments for Greg? And then I have a motion. Bill, go ahead, and then Tom.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Greg, if it was moved down to that location, I certainly would have no problem with being relocated there, as long as we can have our public works manager work with you in regard to selecting a position in the park that wouldn't necessarily interfere with what's going on there annually vis-a-vis people using the beach. But how would we advertise that that's where it was located? Were you planning on putting some kind of advertisement out on Highway 7, directing people that might be going through looking for information down to that site? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well, the reality is that the greatest majority of people who we're trying to capture and who are going to find it are trail users more than people traveling along the highway. The location where it's at right now doesn't really get people who are looking for tourism information in the village. The greatest majority of people who come through there are stopping for gas, and they're on their way through. and they're not really that interested in tourism information. However, on the trails, it's a whole different story. Additionally, I would say that the majority of people who come to our area looking for information are the people who have already booked their time here in cottages, and they're going to come into the village and explore. So we're hoping that it will stand out and be available in the area where the visitors into the village are going to come anyway. When they come to the farmer's market, when they go to Maples, when they come up the trails, when they come into the beach park, that's where they're coming anyway. So I guess that's the best answer I can give for that.
Okay, Tom Dewey?
Thank you, Your Worship. Bill partially asked part of the question I was going to ask Greg. The only thing that I would think it would be facilities, Bill, that Greg should speak to, because Public Works would not be looking after the park. It would be the facilities, and I think the location would have to be agreed to by Andy. So yeah, I support this anyway, Greg, to move it down there.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor Smith, Tyson would
I guess
like
the
to
one.
speak if he could.
Okay, go ahead, Tyson.
Sorry about that. I was muted through you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't going to comment until my name was mentioned, but couple things. Public Works is interested in taking on more of this kind of stuff, especially since we've been so interested in the downtown revitalization. I was just going to ask comment to say that I think another good area to look at would be down closer to the government dock across from the municipal office, where we can all kind of envision a future trailhead. The beach is already a really popular spot. We're trying to expand the attractions in the area. And I think it also ties in with the historic museum, the train museum that's there. So I just didn't know if that had been looked at or not. But I will add that the Public Works Department's happy to help out with the location and whatever needs to be done.
Okay. I just want to add my 2 cents. I agree with Tyson. I think there's a better place than the beach. And I think one of the problems at the beach has been the vandalism that's happened there. And I can see lots of kids being up on the roof of the information booth, probably jumping off or painting or whatever. And if you are in fact trying to catch those people using the trail, above the government dock is a good spot for it to be put. But that's, I guess, up to you and Tyson maybe to take a look at that. Did anyone think of that spot, Greg?
Yes, we have discussed that as well. I'm a little reticent to say too much here, because some of this goes to the proposal that's still yet to come on my part. But I can say that the biggest advantage of being in the beach park is just the volume of people who are there. That's, first and foremost, that's the best thing. When you consider the number of people who are there on Saturdays for the farmers market, when you consider the people coming through on ATVs, stopping at Maples, the beach does really draw a lot of people, even beyond just the 2 groups that I just mentioned. And just from the standpoint of traffic alone, the park itself to us right now seems a better option.
Okay, let me read the motion and we can discuss it further if you want to take a look at something different. So moved by Sherry and seconded by Nikki, that council receive the delegation from Greg Rogers regarding the proposal to relocate the tourism booth to the beach area. And further, that council agree to allow the booth to be located at the proposed location, subject to final approval by the Development Services Manager and/or Public Works Manager for a 1-year trial basis, and then take a look at it after that. Does anyone want to add anything or ask any more questions? So Greg, if this motion is passed, it would be for a 1-year trial, and then we'll take another look at it at the end of that year.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Seeing no questions or comments, all those in favor? Motion's carried. So you can work with Tyson to figure out where at the beach and go forward from there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. All right, next we have communications. Moved by Tom and seconded by Sherry that the following correspondence received for April 13th, 2021 be received for information, and it's 1 to 12. Any discussion? Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I think number 7, Fort Erie's Niagara amended Bill 197 COVID-19 Economic Recovery Act. If you read their motion, I'm sure everybody did. There's a part of that act which says that an adjoining municipality, for example, let's say that we actually applied for an expansion of a landfill site in central Frontenac, then the adjoining municipalities would have a veto on that plan. And I think it's something that perhaps we should support, because what they're saying, this shouldn't be that one municipality should have veto ability over another municipality's plan in regard to waste management. And so I would like to see us support that motion if we could at the next meeting.
Could we possibly have that pulled and have maybe Tyson take a look at what the act says now so that we have some background as to why this motion has come forward?
I have no problem with that, but I think if we do nothing, we're just accepting the status quo, and we may find ourselves in a difficult situation in the future.
Okay, so Tyson, if you could take a look at that for us, and we'll pull that for our next meeting.
Absolutely,
Okay,
Madam
all
Mayor.
those in favor of the motion? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. All right, now we have a public meeting. And I just need to bring up okay, we're about to start our public meeting. Council of the Township of Central Frontenac is conducting a public meeting under the Planning Act with respect to application ZB 0321 Brunke for the rezoning of part of Lot 28, Concession 1 Olden, Big Island on Hungry Lake from EP to a site-specific waterfront residential, general residential zone RW-X to allow construction of a cottage on the lot. I will now ask the Deputy Clerk to advise the method by which notice of the meeting was given and confirmation as to the date that notice was given. Cindy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The notice was published on our website online in the Frontenac News on March the 24th, 2021. It was in the paper newspaper March 25th. Notice was also posted on the, because this is an island property, it didn't make sense to post the notice on the property itself. So notice was posted on the corner of Hungry Bay Road and Henderson Road. We also mailed by regular mail to all property owners within 120 meters of the property on March 24th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Any person who wishes to receive a copy of the minutes of the public meeting, a copy of the report or notice of the passing should include their full name, address, postal code, and contact numbers to Kathy McMunn, CAO Clerk, at the contact information provided in the report. This information is also available on the screen once we get going. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Central Frontenac before the proposed amendment being approved or adopted, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decisions of the Council of the Township of Central Frontenac to the local planning appeal tribunal and may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The procedure for the public meeting will be as follows. The planner will be asked to explain the purpose of the public meeting. The applicant will then be provided with an opportunity to discuss the proposal. I will then inquire if there are any other persons present who wish to make oral or written submissions on the proposed proposal. If so, you should announce your name and state whether you support or oppose the proposal. Should there be any other person wishing to make comments or ask questions about the proposal, they will be given an opportunity to address council. The applicant will also be given an opportunity to respond to issues arising from those public comments. Please be aware that all persons wishing to address the issues should direct their comments and questions through the chair. I would also note that personal information collected as a result of this public meeting is collected under the authority of the Municipal Act, the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, the Planning Act, and all other relevant legislation, and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All personal information as defined by MFIPA, including but not limited to names, addresses, opinions, and comments collected, will be made available for public disclosure to members of the public at the meeting through requests and through the website of the Corporation of the Township of Central Frontenac. Questions regarding the collection, use, and disclosure of this personal information may be directed to the clerk. I will now ask Cindy Diekman to advise how members of the public can participate in the meeting. Cindy, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. There
we go.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have the slide up on the computer screen. If anybody wishing to speak wants to do so, they can raise their hand. I will receive that notification. On the bottom of the screen, there is a raise hand button to notify us that you would like to comment during the public portion of the meeting. If you're joining us by telephone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand, and that will notify us that you would like to comment during the public portion of the meeting, and I can enable you to do so. If you have any audio issues, there's an audio setting on the bottom of the Zoom screen. A dialog box will appear like the one below. Please make sure that the checkbox outlined below in red, automatically adjust volume, is selected. If it is not selected, check the box, and this will ensure that the volume of your speakers and microphone are adjusted automatically by Zoom. If clicking the automatically adjust volume button doesn't improve the volume, you can manually move the speaker and microphone slider button until you can hear the meeting or you can be heard in the meeting. If you're unable, or if you are connecting via smartphone and are unable to speak, you will need to permit audio controls for Zoom to access your microphone in the audio settings of the phone.
Okay. Do we have, how many members of the public do we have standing by?
Just give me a second here. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen here. We do have the applicant. I believe that's the only member of the public here, but perhaps we can start with the planner's comments and then go from there.
All right, Sonia,
Hi,
take it away.
good evening. Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. So we are here tonight to present for the public meeting just the submission that was made by the applicant for the rezoning. Now, I don't know if Cindy is able to share the slides that I sent her, or if I should just share my screen, if that would work for everybody.
Let's do the share screen. Sorry, I'll enable you to do that. Hang on just a second. I don't have the slides keyed up here, so I'm just going to move the host over to you, if that's okay, Sonia.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
Make host. Okay.
Excellent. Oh my gosh, this can potentially too much
You are in
responsibility
control
to be the
now.
host. I know. There we go.
No pressure.
All right, can everybody see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so there are just a few slides just to explain the application here a little bit. So this is a map showing the location. It's in the southwest corner here. It's a small vacant lot of record on Big Island, which is on Hungry Lake. It is approximately 0.33 hectares or 0.75 acres in size. The proposal from the applicant is to rezone the property from an environmental protection or EP zone to a site-specific waterfront residential zone. So an RW, it's right now it's -X, but there will be a specific number attached to the zone. As part of the submission, the applicant has submitted an environmental impact assessment as part of their application, and the remainder of the proposal is based on the recommendations that have come out of that EIA. So those main recommendations are that development would be limited to 1,000 square feet in area. There would be a minimum 15-meter setback to the water on all sides. A floating dock would be permitted on the south side of the property, but no boathouse would be permitted. And then there's a proposal for a gray water pit and privy to be located as shown on the site sketch. So I'm just going to bring this up. So this was the sketch submitted by the applicant. So you see the proposed structure would be sort of in the center of the parcel, located 15 meters from the water. The dock on the south side, approximate location. Obviously, there would be permitting through the Conservation Authority for that as well. And these are the approximate locations of the gray water pit and the privy. This here, obviously, being an accessory structure, in the final draft zoning, we would make sure that it would meet the required setbacks to the property line here. Right here, it looks like it's right on the property line, but there would be a minimum required setback. So we would ensure that is included as well. And so tonight is just the public meeting for this application, and we are here to receive comments and questions, both from council as well as members of the public. So we will have a staff recommendation report for you that will follow at a future meeting of council. And if there are any comments or questions following tonight's presentation and tonight's public meeting, we're happy to receive those as well. And I've included the just the planning@frontenaccounty.ca email address here. So I think at this point, I'm happy to speak to questions regarding the process for this application, and I think the applicant is available to answer questions regarding any intent of the development on the property and any questions specific to why they've applied for the rezoning. Thank you.
Okay, maybe if we could take the sharing down so that I can see council members.
Certainly.
Does the applicant want to speak to anything at this point? Or maybe just respond to questions or comments?
So I'll ask now, does the applicant wish to speak for the on behalf of the application? And Sonia, I'm not sure, are you still showing as the host? Because if you are, then the raise hand feature may just show up on your screen.
I don't see any raise hand, but I am going to.
Oh, she does have her hand up now.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to allow her to speak, so bear with me while she comes in and bring her in. Okay.
And
she did mention to me earlier by email that she was having internet issues, so hopefully she will be able to participate. Rhonda, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Excellent.
The only thing I would add to what Sonia just said, which was perfect, is that due to the limited size of the building footprint, which is around 1,000 square feet, sleeping accommodations should be allowed in a loft or second story. That was on the application, and that was also submitted by the environmental impact fellow. Okay, but everything else is exactly precisely correct.
Okay. Good. Does any member of council have a question or comment for either Sonia or Rhonda? Okay. Well, that must mean everyone's quite content with what's been proposed.
Okay. By the way, this has been really interesting to watch you guys.
We do have fun sometimes, as well as get the work done.
Well, you do. I mean, it's a real nice mix of different personalities and different ideas, and I'm surprised at very intelligent conversations. Anyway, keep it.
Oh, great. Thank you. There's times we're not as intelligent as others.
No, maybe Rhonda should join us more often.
Yes. Okay, so
Is she
if
buttering us
there
up
aren't
for the
any
vote?
other comments,
Yes, I am.
all right. So this public meeting is now concluded, And I would remind any person wishing to receive additional information to provide their name, full name, address, postal code, and contact numbers to Kathy, CAO clerk, to the email address or phone number that was on the screen or that you can find on the website. All right, so the public meeting is over, and I now have a resolution. And it is moved by Elwin and seconded by Victor that council receive any public comments from the public meeting regarding the application for zoning bylaw amendment Brunke. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, Sonia, what are the next steps for the applicant?
For you, Madam Mayor, really next steps are for staff. So we will be drafting a bylaw to recognize the site-specific zoning for the property, which the applicant will have the opportunity to review. And once that is ready, we will be preparing our final report, and that, along with the draft bylaw, will be presented back to council for a decision.
Okay. All right. Any further questions or comments on that? If not, okay, we're going to move on. Is there any notice of motions?
None.
Is there any giving of notice of motions?
No.
Okay, new business, Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee report.
Yes, this is the one that Cindy, we had talked about in regards to the dates, is that the advisory committee for the Community Safety and Wellbeing has been actively working on the committee, and this is for all of the Frontenacs. According to the Police Services Act, as you know, under the regulation, we must adopt a community safety and wellbeing plan by July 1st of 2021. So in order for us to meet that deadline, the committee has strategized with the consultants to have a draft ready for review in early May, which will be distributed to all 4 of councils in Frontenac. So we are proposing a joint council meeting on May the 20th at 5 p.m. And we have confirmation from the other Frontenacs that that day and time is great for them to provide opportunity for questions and comments. So if any changes are required, this will give the consultants and councils just over a month to finalize the plan and bring it to the final version back to their councils before July the 1st. So that's the other date we were talking about for May the 20th at 5 p.m.
Does that work for most of us?
Yeah, I'm okay.
It works for
Okay.
me.
Okay with me.
Okay.
All right, 5 p.m. on the 20th. We'll put that in our calendars.
I will remind.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll remind you as well.
Okay, and you'll send out the Zoom link the day of so we don't get it lost.
I will set it up so we get a reminder, yes, and we'll set the meeting up and send the invites out probably a couple weeks before.
Okay. Okay, the next
Madam
motion,
Mayor,
okay.
Just one quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Was that
Yep.
May 20th?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the day of the joint council.
May 20th
Yes.
is the joint council for the Community and Safety Wellbeing Plan. Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. If there is nothing, oh, Victor still has a question.
No, it was just I had written down joint council, but I didn't write down what the joint council was for.
Oh, okay. It's for this
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
And there will be other joint meetings coming up with the communal systems as well. That's down the road a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I have a motion to move into closed. And that is moved by Nikki and seconded by Brent. That council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss matters regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Section 239(2)(f), road allowance between concessions 5 and 6 Hinchinbrook. All those in favor? Carried.
Okay, if we could just take a couple minutes break while I stop the recording and ensure that the attendees are, that they leave the meeting. We'll be ready to start.
It's not the quite.